February 20, 2024, News Report 1. On February 20, Chinese Coast Guard ships entered the waters near Kinmen. The Taiwan Coast Guard Administration dispatched ships to the scene to issue warnings. After an hour-long standoff, the Chinese patrol boat finally left the waters. This is the second consecutive day that Chinese vessels have patrolled the waters around Kinmen. China's actions have been seen as in line with Xi Jinping's tough image, attempting to blur the line between Kinmen and Xiamen and continually squeeze Taiwan's space. Taiwan's Minister of National Defense, Chiu Kuo-cheng, stated that the issue of Chinese vessels entering the waters near Kinmen is handled by the Coast Guard Administration, and the military will not intervene. On February 14, Chinese speedboats illegally fished in the waters near Kinmen, and a Taiwan Coast Guard boat capsized during the pursuit, resulting in the deaths of 2 fishermen. The families of the deceased arrived in Kinmen from Quanzhou, Fujian, on February 20 to handle funeral arrangements. Li Zhaohui, Deputy Director of the Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Macau Affairs Office of Quanzhou, stated that the Taiwan Coast Guard forcibly expelled the fishermen, leading to the deaths of 2 people, which is outrageous. However, the director of the Taiwan Coast Guard Administration, Liao Decheng, denied the use of force and demanded that Li Zhaohui correct his wording. In addition, the Taiwan Coast Guard Administration repatriated 2 other Chinese fishermen on February 20 and requested that the Chinese side sign a repatriation certificate. Chinese officials refused to sign, claiming they were not authorized. Su Jingji, Deputy Director of the Coast Guard Administration, stated that signing the certificate is just a formality, and the 2 Chinese fishermen will be repatriated according to the procedure, regardless of whether the certificate is signed. Furthermore, the Ministry of National Defense of Taiwan reported that on February 18, 7 PLA aircraft and 7 PLA warships were active around Taiwan, without crossing the median line of the Taiwan Strait. On February 19, there were 29 PLA aircraft and 8 PLA warships active in the waters around Taiwan, with 11 aircraft crossing the median line of the Taiwan Strait. The PLA's activities around Taiwan have increased. News Report 2. The Australian Department of Defence announced on February 20 a defence reform plan that aims to increase defence spending by $111 billion over the next 10 years. The plan aims to increase the number of Australian warships from the current 11 to more than 26, making it the largest military expansion since World War II and one of the countries with the newest and most powerful navy in the world. The new 26 warships will be divided into 2 groups. The first group includes 6 Hunter-class frigates and 3 upgraded Hobart-class destroyers, equipped with Tomahawk cruise missiles. The second group includes 11 general-purpose frigates and 6 large naval vessels, which can be operated unmanned or with personnel. This defence reform plan will increase Australia's defence spending to 2.4% of GDP, higher than NATO's 2% target. Australian Defence Minister Merles said that the Australian Navy must ensure the security of sea lanes and trade routes, as they are vital to Australia's way of life and prosperity. Due to the escalating global geopolitical tensions and the increasing influence of China in the Pacific Island countries, Australia has been seeking to strengthen its defence capabilities. In March last year, Australia announced the AUKUS nuclear-powered submarine plan, which plans to invest $368 billion over 30 years to build a modern submarine force. This is the largest defence project in Australian history, indicating that Australia is gradually becoming a military power in the South Pacific region. News Report 3. Caixin reported that the People's Bank of China announced on February 20 a reduction in the loan prime rate, LPR, for loans with a term of 5 years or more, lowering the long-term loan rate from 4.2% to 3.95%, a decrease of 25 basis points. This rate cut also led to a corresponding decrease in mortgage rates. According to data from the Zhuge Data Research Center, in Beijing, the minimum mortgage rate for first-time homebuyers will be adjusted to 3.95%, and the minimum rate for second mortgages will be adjusted to 4.5%. In Shanghai, the minimum mortgage rate for first-time homebuyers will be adjusted to 3.85%, and the minimum rate for second mortgages will be adjusted to 4.15%. For example, for a 1 million yuan mortgage with a 25-year repayment period, the monthly mortgage payment will be reduced by 138 yuan, saving a total of about 40,000 yuan in interest. However, it should be noted that these adjustments are not effective immediately but according to the contractually agreed-upon time, usually effective from January 1st of the new year or the signing date. In addition, after the People's Bank of China lowered the 5-year LPR, the renminbi exchange rate against the US dollar showed a slight decline, closing at 7.1976 on February 19, unchanged from the previous day. Offshore renminbi fell below 7.21 during the Asian session, hitting a low of 7.2185, and was quoted at 7.1980 at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. This move by the People's Bank of China was interpreted by foreign exchange market traders as a deviation of 950 basis points from market expectations, reflecting the People's Bank of China's efforts to stabilize the renminbi exchange rate through commercial banks and other market forces. News Report 4. The Turkish state news agency announced on February 20 that Turkish police had arrested 6 Chinese nationals, accusing them of gathering information on Uyghur refugees on behalf of the Chinese intelligence service. In addition, one Chinese national is wanted by Turkey. Since 2017, more than 1 million Uyghurs and other Muslim minorities have been detained by the Chinese government in education camps, and tens of thousands of Uyghurs have fled to Turkey seeking refuge. Turkey has a blood relationship with the Uyghurs, and their cultures have similarities, so Turkey has always been open to the Uyghurs. However, since 2019, the Chinese government has pressured Turkey, leading to a change in the Turkish government's attitude toward the Uyghurs, making it difficult for them to obtain status in Turkey, and even some have been repatriated to China. Turkish human rights organizations criticized Turkish President Erdogan for disregarding human rights and only considering interests. Now Turkey has arrested 6 Chinese nationals, accusing them of monitoring Uyghurs, directly targeting the Chinese government's actions. Some observers believe that the actions of the Erdogan government may be motivated by new interests rather than a change in position. They speculate that Turkey may be trying to leverage these Chinese nationals to pressure the Chinese government for certain benefits. News Report 5. Reuters reported that the United States presented a draft resolution at the United Nations Security Council on February 19, calling for a temporary ceasefire between Israel and Hamas and opposing a large-scale ground attack by the Israeli army on Gaza. The U.S. draft resolution pointed out that a large-scale ground attack on Gaza at the current juncture would lead to further harm to civilians, further displacement, and even possibly a surge of refugees to neighboring countries. Gao Wan, head of the International Crisis Group, said that the United States had issued a new condition and warned Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, marking the strongest and most emphatic signal the United States has sent at the United Nations to date, indicating that Israel cannot indefinitely rely on U.S. diplomatic protection. The vote on the resolution proposed by Algeria, which called for an immediate and comprehensive ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, was originally scheduled for February 20. However, the United States opposed the draft resolution, believing that it would undermine the ongoing negotiations between the United States, Egypt, and Qatar on the Israeli-Hamas conflict. Subsequently, according to reports, a video released by the Israeli army on February 19 showed that Israeli woman Bivas and her 2 children were abducted by Hamas on October 7 last year, and their whereabouts are still unknown. This incident shows that the United States is pushing forward its ceasefire process with Israel according to its own agenda, but there are differences between the United States and Israel, and the outcome is unclear. The discord could lead to unclear outcomes because without Israel's support, the so-called ceasefire by the United States would be meaningless, as Israel is not inferior. Israel needs to consider the issue comprehensively. News Report 6. On February 19, the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, announced at a Christian Democratic Union, CDU, meeting in Germany that she will seek re-election as President of the European Commission. The EU will elect a new European Parliament in June this year, followed by the election of a new President of the European Commission. Von der Leyen, 65, took office as President of the European Commission on December 1, 2019, and her term will expire this year. Von der Leyen, a German, joined the CDU, Christian Democratic Union, in 1990, the party of former German Chancellor Angela Merkel. During Merkel's tenure, von der Leyen was a member of Merkel's cabinet. On the same day, the CDU also nominated von der Leyen as the lead candidate for the European People's Party. The European People's Party is the largest party in the European Parliament, with 83 parties from 44 countries. The CDU has the most parliamentary seats in the European People's Party. Therefore, Germany's influence in the European Parliament is very significant. According to convention, the leaders of EU member states will choose the President of the European Commission from the largest party in the European Parliament, so it can be assumed that von der Leyen will be re-elected. News Report 7. According to Kyodo News, the Japanese government and Okinawa Prefecture have been in talks since late January on an evacuation plan for island residents in case of maritime emergencies. Such negotiations between the central and local governments are normal in national relations. The content of the evacuation plan is that Yatsushiro City, Kumamoto Prefecture, will accommodate evacuees from Takatomi Village, Okinawa Prefecture. The evacuated Takatomi villagers will first fly to Terima Airport and then travel by car to Yatsushiro City. The evacuation plan is expected to be finalized and implemented in March, and this plan will serve as a reference template for other islands to develop evacuation plans. The closest island to Taiwan from Japan is Hateruma Island, which is 110 kilometers away. Japanese security officials predict that if a war breaks out in the Taiwan Strait, Japanese islands will become a destination for Taiwanese refugees, and the PLA may also impose a naval blockade. However, due to the large number of refugee boats, it is difficult to stop them. In March last year, the Japanese government and Okinawa Prefecture conducted an exercise to evacuate residents from 5 islands of Ishigaki Island. Ishigaki Island is the closest island to Taiwan. The evacuation targets include not only 110,000 islanders but also 10,000 tourists. This shows that the Japanese government is preparing and planning in detail before the event occurs to ensure its response capability. News Report 8. According to Reuters, Dutch Minister of Trade Van Rijn announced the withdrawal of ASML's export licenses for some products to China. The reason is that the Dutch government is concerned that China will use chip production equipment for military purposes to produce high-value and high-lethality weapons. The Dutch government last year required ASML to apply for a license before exporting mid-level photoresist lithography machines to China. ASML announced in October last year that it could sell less advanced NXT 1980 lithography machines to wafer and chip factories in China, but these lithography machines cannot produce advanced chips. ASML emphasized that it will not export advanced lithography machines below 7 nanometers to China. Van Rijn said that China is focusing on importing Dutch lithography technology and expertise to promote China's military technological development. The Dutch government cannot take risks and also prohibits the export of less advanced lithography machines. This means that SMIC, Semiconductor Manufacturing International Corporation, cannot use a lithography machine that produces 7-nanometer chips to make 5-nanometer chips, which they are preparing for. The Dutch government has begun to respond to this situation. News Report 9. According to AFP, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning announced at a regular press conference on February 20 that China will send a delegation to the upcoming G20 foreign ministers meeting in Brazil. This meeting is very important to China, but China has not yet announced the list of attendees. It is generally expected that there may be adjustments to the selection of foreign ministers before the National People's Congress and the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, and Lu Jianchao may replace Wang Yi as foreign minister. As for the head of the delegation to this meeting, Mao Ning did not reveal, but since Wang Yi will be absent, Lu Jianchao is likely to lead the delegation. The G20 Foreign Ministers meeting will be held in Brazil from February 21 to 22, and U.S. President Blinken, Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov, and others will also attend the meeting. News Report 10. On February 19, the chairman of the China Securities Regulatory Commission, Wu Qing, led a team to conduct research at the Galaxy Securities branch on Financial Street in Beijing on the first day of trading in Longyan. Financial Street is home to many headquarters of financial institutions and investment institutions and is known as Beijing's Wall Street. Wu Qing held talks with investor representatives from Galaxy Securities, one of more than 10 consecutive talks he has held. His actions reflect the Chinese government's attitude of attaching importance to financial market regulation. However, some opinions believe that if the chairman of the Securities Regulatory Commission can effectively regulate the market through these talks, then the existence of the Securities Regulatory Commission is redundant. Therefore, there is controversy over whether holding talks can effectively promote policies and regulatory measures. News Report 11. According to the Financial Times, North Korean hackers have recently used artificial intelligence technology to steal advanced technology from other countries and engage in fraud on social media. In the past, North Korean hackers had difficulty deceiving others on social media due to their inaccurate use of English and Korean, as South Korean Korean is very different from North Korean Korean, much like Mandarin spoken in Taiwan and Mandarin spoken in mainland China. Therefore, they found it difficult to deceive others. However, with AI technology, this language problem has been solved, and they directly use ChatGPT to deceive people. North Korean hackers use AI-generated content to engage in fraud on social media platforms like LinkedIn. For example, North Korean hackers use AI to impersonate engineers from a new currency exchange to communicate with others, mainly inducing them to download software, etc., to implant malicious software into their computers, and then invade Japanese cryptocurrency exchanges through their computers, etc. Experts say that North Korean hackers' tactics are becoming more sophisticated and no longer use very crude phishing emails, etc. Developers of ChatGPT, OpenAI, and investor Microsoft confirmed last week that hackers from 4 countries, including North Korea, China, Russia, and Iran, are using AI technology for malicious cyber activities, demonstrating the negative effects of modern technology. News Report 12. The Korean Central News Agency reported that North Korean leader Kim Jong-un received a luxurious Urus sedan from Russian President Vladimir Putin on February 18. This car, manufactured in Russia, weighs 3.2 tons and is priced at approximately 22 million rubles, about $240,000. When Kim visited Russia last September, Putin showed him this model, which Putin himself also uses. At that time, Kim transported his own Maybach luxury sedan from North Korea to Russia by special train and began using the Urus luxury sedan. The report also stated that Kim Jong-un's sister, Kim Yo-jong, expressed that the gift from Putin to Kim Jong-un proves that the relationship between North Korea and Russia is very close, which is the best gift. Kim Yo-jong also conveyed Kim Jong-un's gratitude and greetings to Putin. In addition, the Korean Central News Agency also reported that 3 delegations from North Korea set off for Russia on February 19. Among them, the information industry delegation will participate in the Eurasian IT Forum in Moscow on February 20, the Fisheries Delegation Vice Minister, Sun Chung-kook, will attend the meeting of the North Korea-Russia Joint Fisheries Commission, and the Sports Delegation Vice Minister, Woo Gwang-ha, will participate in the signing ceremony of the North Korea-Russia Sports Exchange Association. These actions indicate that the relationship between North Korea and Russia is becoming increasingly close. News Report 13. The Financial Times reported that the European Commission plans to impose a fine of €500 million on Apple next month. This is because Apple is accused of suppressing the Swedish music streaming service Spotify, allegedly violating EU antitrust laws. According to reports, Spotify complained to the EU in 2019 that Apple required it to pay a 30% subscription fee when it placed its application on the Apple Store. At the same time, Apple did not provide users with other cheaper subscription options. The EU launched an antitrust investigation against Apple in 2020, and now the investigation has ended with a decision to fine Apple €500 million. The Apple App Store has always charged subscription fees and has a monopolistic effect. The EU's Digital Markets Act, which will come into effect on March 7, aims to open up competition and allow small tech companies to thrive. The new law requires large tech companies to comply with stricter regulations, and if they only consider their own services and disregard those of their competitors, it will be considered illegal. This decision is seen as a warning to large tech companies. News Report 14. The Hong Kong Government Census and Statistics Department announced on February 20 that as of the end of 2023, Hong Kong's population reached 7.5 million, an increase of 30,000 compared to the previous year, with a growth rate of 0.4%. The data shows that in 2023, a total of 51,700 people immigrated to Hong Kong, with immigrant population reaching 50,000, a net increase of 30,000. This data reflects the difference between the number of people leaving and entering Hong Kong. Specifically, 40,000 people immigrated to Hong Kong from mainland China with one-way permits, accounting for 80% of the immigrant population. In addition, another 10,000 people came from other regions. The Hong Kong government calls this phenomenon blood exchange, meaning that some people leave while others enter. It is worth noting that last year, more than 100,000 people left Hong Kong, while 50,000 people arranged by mainland China immigrated. At the same time, last year, the number of deaths in Hong Kong exceeded the number of births, resulting in a natural decrease of 21,000 people. Although the Hong Kong government claims that the population has grown for 2 consecutive years, the actual situation may be biased. The Commissioner of Inland Revenue, Tan Taipang, stated in May last year that the number of tax returns issued in 2023 decreased by 130,000, showing a decrease for 3 consecutive years. This phenomenon indicates that Hong Kong's overall employment is not affected, and most of the taxpayers are not low-income earners. This also indicates that about 140,000 taxpayers left Hong Kong, while there were also 56,000 applications for leaving Hong Kong without tax clearance. These data suggest that the actual situation of Hong Kong's population may be decreasing, while the government's data may be distorted. In conclusion, the Hong Kong government's statistics may be fabricated, and the various problems in mainland China may eventually affect Hong Kong. News Report 15. Voice of America reported that the African Union announced on February 18 that it will ban the slaughter of donkeys and the use of donkey skins to produce a jiao. Currently, there are about 53 million donkeys globally, with 32% living in Africa. In impoverished and remote areas of Africa, local residents rely on donkeys to transport food, water, and other items, making them a very important means of transportation. A jiao is a type of traditional Chinese medicine made from donkey skins, which is said to have nourishing and blood-enriching effects. However, the number of donkeys in China has decreased by 76%, leading Chinese traditional medicine producers to start purchasing donkey skins in Africa. According to the British Independent, to meet China's huge demand, 5.9 million donkeys are slaughtered and skinned globally each year. But now the African Union has banned this practice, blocking China's avenue of purchasing donkey skins in Africa. In addition, Taiwan's Food and Drug Administration announced on February 20 that peacock green was detected in frozen herring roe imported from China, with a total weight of 14.3 tons. Peacock green is a toxic element used in Chinese aquaculture as a chemical dye against fungi. Human consumption of peacock green may lead to carcinogenic risks or thyroid function abnormalities. These herring roe have not yet entered the market and have been destroyed or returned. This is the first time Taiwan has detected peacock green in imported frozen herring roe.